Hey guys, Jason here. Welcome back to another video here on the channel. And in today's video, I will be talking about what I believe are my top 10 albums of all time. Little disclaimer, when we get into it, a lot of these are going to be rock or metal albums. There will be a couple albums in here that come from different genres, but just so you know, a lot of these are going to be metal and rock. I can really think of any other electronic albums that I really like. I just kind of like electronic songs. So without further ado, let's actually get into the video. Before we actually get into the list, I was gonna drop a few honorable mentions. First, if you know who Tyler the Creator is, and you're probably tired of hearing him by now, just because there's a guy out there who makes so many shorts about he glazes Tyler the Creator and Tyler the Creator this, Tyler the Creator that. I think he's stopped now, but he used to do that. And this is not a rock album, and I don't usually like rap albums or rap in general. But this honorable mention goes to Chromacopia by Tyler the Creator. There are some good tracks on here. We got Judge Judy. The title track is really good. It's a good album if you want to just sit down and kind of vibe to it. And it came out this year, or not this year, but in 2024. So it's a good album if you really want to sit and vibe and just kind of just jam to a rap album, but kind of goes outside the box. It's not really like a mainstream sounding rap album either. So yeah. That is Chromacopia by Tyler the Creator. The next honorable mention is completely on the other side of the spectrum. We're going to go to death metal now. We're going to talk about Tomb of the Mutilated by Cannibal Corpse. Got all-time classics like Hammer Smash Face, I Come Blood, The Cryptic Stench, Split Wide Open. Really good album to just jam to. Sometimes I like to, it's good to like work out to this album too. Really good heavy tracks on here. This was the third album with Chris Barnes in the band. So, it was one more album that came out after that, and then he left the band. So, Tomb of the Mutilated, Cannibal Corpse. What a really good honorable mention. And the final honorable mention is Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue. What a great classic rock album. I listened to this album back when I was a kid. I had this album on CD. Some good songs on here, like, of course, the title track, Looks That Kill, awesome. What is it? Too Young to Fall in Love, Helter Skelter. Some great sounding riffs. This was back when Vince Neil actually sounded good on vocals, unlike other albums later. But Shout at the Devil, Motley Crue. What a good album if you want to sit and listen to it. Old classic rock jam. And so yeah, those are all the honorable mentions. Now let's actually get into the proper list. At number 10, we have Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. So, okay, a great classic rock album as well. My Michelle is a great song. Of course, you got the classic hits on this album, like Paradise City, Sweet Child O' Mine, Welcome to the Jungle, those classics. Then you got the ending track, Rocket Queen, which is just a banger. My Michelle is too. And then there's some other tracks that I'm forgetting the names of right now. But yeah, what a good album. Has some good riffs, especially on like My Michelle, like on the deeper cuts like that, and of course the classic hits, like the songs I just mentioned, and well, you should check out this album, Appetite for Destruction, by Guns N' Roses. At our number 9 spot, we have another classic rock album, 3 classic rock albums in a row, Pyromania by Def Leppard. Oh yeah, and I keep forgotten to tell you what year the albums came out. So Tomb of the Mutilated came out in 1992, Shout at the Devil came out in 1983, Appetite for Destruction came out in 1987, and Pyromania came out the same year as Shout at the Devil. So, let's talk about Pyromania by Def Leppard. Dude, just an awesome, like, the riffs are heavy, especially, like, on that first track. Of course, classic hits like Photograph and, was it Too Late, Foolin'. Of course, there's deeper cuts like the ending track. And I also had this album on CD too. It's still in my CD collection, as well as Shout at the Devil. I have some of these classic rock albums that I mentioned on CD. Because I used to listen to that type of music, especially when I was like a younger kid. So, Pyromania is, yeah, it's a good album. Yeah. Well, nothing really more to say about it. I used to listen to this album a lot. And yeah. Okay. We're going to move from rock albums for a minute now. We're going to talk about a country album. At number 8. This is kind of hard to pick because all of Toby Keith's albums are pretty good, or most of them are pretty good for the most part. I could have picked Drinks After Work. I could have picked Honky Tonk University. I could have picked from his older stuff too, but I decided to go with Bullets in the Gun. Just a good album to jam out to, as well. If you just kind of if you're kind of just like in that casual mood and just want to have something to jam out to, but you don't want some metal, you don't really want rock either, but you don't really want like electronic music or any other kind of genre, and you're in the mood for country, this album is good for that. So, of course, the title track, Somewhere Else, Trailer Hood, Kissing in the Rain, what other tracks? Driving On Home. Yeah, get another truck, stop driving on home. That's such a good track to listen to on this album. Yeah, what a good album if you're into country, especially like the little bit of like the older 2010s country stuff. Yeah. Okay. Our number 7 spot, we're kind of tied. So I'm going to talk about 2 albums on our number 7 spot here. Okay, at number 7, first, I'm gonna talk about, The Impossibility of Reason by Chimera. So, this is another metal, they're kinda like metalcore, um, not really metalcore, but groove metal, but they're heavier. I don't really know how to describe them. I guess metalcore-ish. But I only really got into this band, like, in late 2023, and this album came out in 2003. Bullets in the Gun came out in 2011, I think. But yeah, The Impossibility Reason, the title track is good. The opening song, Cleansation. I just love that opening riff. We also have Stick Murder. What a good heavy track. A lighter track on this album that I really like is called Down Again. Has these like typical dirty or typical screams from Mark Hunter, who's the vocalist in this band. And this is their second album. That was the second album. I don't know why, but second albums always turn out to be like sometimes the best. I don't know why that works like that, but yeah. Oh yeah, what was I talking about? Down Again. And then you have the melodic, clean vocals on the chorus of that song. So yeah. Also, what else do we have that's really good on this album? The Dehumanizing Process. Another good, heavy track. Of course, I mentioned it. Oh yeah, the a bonus track, Army of Me. We got Overlooked, Pictures in the Gold Room, Staring Through the Eyes of a Criminal, which was the first song I heard from the band. So yeah. And then the instrumental track, which I'm forgetting what it's called. Hold up, I'll be right back. Let me see what that's called. I couldn't find what the track was, but I think it was called The Age of Destruction. I don't remember. But without that, or, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, this album is good. Really good. Heavy riffs, clean vocals, a lot of screams. Well, most of this album is screaming, but clean vocals here and there. Groovy metal riffs, mixed with like some metalcore elements and stuff. I should do a ranking because I haven't done one of the album like ranking an albums or band's albums in a while. So I should probably do that actually. I just turned the speech off. But yeah, The Impossibility of Reason by Chimera. What a great album. Okay. Next, still on our number 7, because we had 2 albums, is I think it's called, The Rise of Majestic by the band Soilwork. Okay, so here's a story about this album, or how I found out about it. I knew about the band, like before. I've heard their name, I just never really checked out any of their stuff. And then one day I was just doing schoolwork, and I had music on, and I usually put on like something in the background when I do schoolwork. I love listening to music when I'm doing schoolwork and doing other work and stuff. And I just randomly, it was just on a whim. I think my other music was over, and I was just looking on YouTube, and then I just found this. It's just in my recommended. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll listen to it. First track hits. I already knew it's gonna be a banger. Um, I already knew like the rest of this album was gonna be good. Um, and then of course we got tracks like Phantoms, Deaf in General. Oh yeah, this came out in 2015, by the way. Deaf in General, which that track, sometimes I still have that stuck in my head from time to time, like the chorus. I don't remember the tear us apart like death in general. But this is a melodic death metal band, which they have like a lot of like do a lot of like clean vocals and stuff for their choruses, but a lot of screams for their verses. Hence, melodic death metal. But this is more modern melodic death metal, I would say. Where got that balance between that, and that's why I like this record, because it's not as heavy as like something like a if you don't like, if you're listening to a deathcore record or a tech death record, it's not that like, it's not heavy like that, but also it's not too light like hard rock or technical, or not technical, hard rock, or just like new metal. It's kind of like in the middle, like if you want to talk about like metalcore, but it doesn't have the breakdowns, it just has guitar solos and they get technical sometimes. Like Trivium and other rock bands like that. So yeah, The Rise is Majestic by Soilwork. Okay, at our number 6 spot, we have The New Order by Testament. Okay, so I've known about this band for like a while, for like several years at least, but I haven't listened to this album ever since, like, I think it was like the beginning of 2024, and this came out in 1988, I believe. This is Testament. They are a thrash band. We have the title track, what you call it, Circles of the Watch. Really good. I love the interludes of, was it the 5th and 6th track, like the interludes between like the front half and the back half of the album. But what a good album. My favorite Testament album, because, okay, here's my opinion on Testament. I don't really like the band's music that much, just because, I don't know, to me it's just kind of boring. But this album for me is just different. Like, of course, you got, was it Chuck Billy on the vocals, doing his screams and all that different stuff. But the other albums, like The Legacy or Practice What You Preach, or Black or Ritual, I couldn't really get into. And when Black came out in 1990 and Ritual came out in 1992, that's when thrash was kind of starting to die out too. But still, even like Practice What You Preach, it was a lot of mid-tempo stuff. It wasn't a lot of the faster stuff like The New Order, by Testament. But I don't know, still good songs. Like, the only song I really like from Practice What You Preach, though, is the title track. I don't really like anything else. And then their debut, it's alright, it's mid. And I'm saying that as a guy that actually kind of likes a lot of thrash stuff. But yeah. But The New Order, really, really good album. And, well, yeah. Okay. For our number 5 spot, I got 2 albums again. because it's kind of tied when I kind of picked like all these albums that I wanted to put in here, because some of these albums are just good. First, since we were just on the topic of thrash, I guess we'll go even heavier, and we'll talk about some more death metal. Death, Spiritual Healing by Death, which came out in 1990. I've known about this band for a while. I love pretty much all their albums. But this album, for me, I love it lyrically. Because this is the first album where they started. Because the first two albums, they just kind of they talked about gore and all that stuff. Whereas this album, they started talking about real life problems and real life issues, and what we could do to resolve those issues. So that's what I really like about this album. The music is still really good. Also, this is the first album where, in my opinion, all the song structure starts to get really technical, where the the songs are longer, the more technical, and then that's kind of that this album is kind of the gateway before the albums like Human or Individual Fault Patterns or Symbolic. It's kind of the album that, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of the album that made those albums exist in the first place. I guess that's the way I can word it. It's the album that made those albums even exist in the first place and make those albums what they are. So, Spiritual Healing by Death. What a great album. And I actually just went back and listened to this album like a couple days ago just because it's so good. Okay, for our second album in our number 5 spot, we're going to go to industrial rock now. We have Psalm 69 by Ministry. So how I heard about this album is I was in a car with someone, and they were just randomly playing this album, and I was like, yeah, who's that band? Because it sounds cool. And they were like, yeah, it's Ministry. The album's called Psalm 69. So next day I went and checked it out. And I like the way that this album sounds. I like the production. That's what I like about this album. The songs are pretty good. My favorite track is Just One Fix. Of course, we got New World Order, Scarecrow, Jesus Built My Hot Rod, Corrosion, which is a great instrumental track, along with the final track, Armageddon, which is just craziness. And then, of course, Psalm 69, title track. Just pretty much name the whole album. Oh yeah, Hero. That track too. Oh yeah, and the other track I forget the name of. But this album is really experimental. The production, for me, it kind of reminds me of like, on some of the songs like Just One Fix, it kind of reminds me of like the Black Album by Metallica, which we'll talk about later, or like 90s albums like that. That's what the production kind of reminds me of, ish, on some of these songs. I don't know. But anyway, great album. Really good. And I just had to put it here because, I don't know. It's just good. It's really good. Okay. Number 4. We have F8 by Five Finger Death Punch. My favorite band. Okay, so this one was really hard to think. Because I could pretty much put any Death Punch album here. And I could have even put a Death Punch album at the top. But I was like, let's go with F8, because this album pretty much showcases everything about what Five Finger Death Punch is. There are heavy tracks, there are light tracks, there are typical Death Punch sounding tracks. Of course, we have Inside Out, Bottom of the Top, To Be Alone, Mother May I TikTok, This Is War, Scar Tissue, The Brighter Side of Grey too. Well, not technically in the album, but there are 2 bonus tracks. A Death Punch Therapy, which is really, really good because it kind of combines 3 of their songs. Yeah, I think it's like more than like 3 of their songs. It's good though. It's like, yeah, it combines like 3 of their songs from like their first 3 albums. I don't know. I don't know how to explain how that song is, but yeah, it's good. Making Monsters, we got just really good stuff. Leave It All Behind. As the Darkness Settles In. Yeah, really good stuff on here. Really good stuff. Really lighter track, a little bit off. Just a really good album to jam out to. It kind of combines all the elements of what Five Finger Death Punch is and what Five Finger Death Punch was. Kind of combines all the Death Punch album elements and puts them into one album, because you have heavy Death Punch, you have the newer, lighter sounding Death Punch. Oh yeah, and this came out in 2020. I keep forgetting all the dates. This album came out in 2020. Mystery came out in 1992, and I think I told you Spiritual Healing came out in 1990. Yes, F8 by Five Finger Death Punch. Really, really good. Okay. At number 3, we have What the Dead Men Say, or WTDMS by Trivium. Okay, this came out in the same year as F8. Really technical album. I love all the songs on this record. Bending the Arc to Fear, Sickness Unto You, Scattering the Ashes, The Ones We Leave Behind, Bleed Into Me, Catastrophist, the title track, the Amongst the Shadows and the Stones. It's like one of my favorite songs of all time, or favorite metal songs of all time. Dude, what a great album. Really, really technical. This is Trivium at its peak. Because after the Sin and the Sentence, they just started embracing more technical stuff. This is also the best album, in my opinion, for Trivium when it comes to production. Right beside the worst album when it comes to production, in my opinion, from Trivium, In the Court of the Dragon. The production on In the Court of the Dragon is just like, I don't know, it's just, it could have been a lot better. Like, the production on that album, in my opinion, like, the guitars were too loud, the drums, I don't know, the drums, like the high cymbal hits weren't really emphasized. I don't know. It kind of felt, especially like the guitar production on In the Court of the Dragon, kind of felt like, that production sound was meant for more of a Death Punch album or something else than a Trivium album. But anyway, back to WTDMS. What a really great album. Guitar work is awesome. Vocals are awesome. Drumming is awesome. Everything about this album is awesome. I jam out to this album a lot. And I also just all the time just jam out to the songs individually. Because it's just so good. Yeah. Okay. Number 2 is Sour Days by Mac DeMarco. If you want to chill out and just be calm, put on this album. It's just really calming and really chill. What a good indie rock album. This album came out in 2014. Well, yeah. Let's talk about it. So, of course, Sour Days, the title track, Brother, Let My Baby Stay, Passing Out Pieces, Let Her Go. Amazing tracks on this. One of my favorite albums. I first found this album in like 2023. Early 2023, Chamber of Reflections. And this was the video, or you remember I did the tribute video on the anniversary of this album, the 10-year anniversary, where I covered some of the songs and put them into 8-bit form. So go check that out if you haven't already. What else? We have Treat Her Better. Just a really great chill indie / psychedelic rock album. If you're just feeling in that mood, just to chill out and put on something, and just embrace the music. Yeah. Also, it is really, really, really good. Okay. Finally, we have made it to number 1. Okay, this is going to be controversial, really, really controversial, but Saint Anger by Metallica. I'm kidding. It is a Metallica album, but it's not Saint Anger, but it's still kind of controversial. The Black Album by Metallica. I had to do it. You thought I was going to pick Master of Puppets or any other Metallica album. They're all good. They're still all really, really good. Like, those 4 albums are like some of my favorites too. But I don't know why. I just like the Black Album a lot. And it's kind of a mixed bag because some people really like it and some people don't. But I'm one of the ones that actually really likes the Black Album. / their self-titled album, which came out in 1991. Okay, I had this album on CD too, and I listened to this album so much that I annoy my parents with it. I listened to it so much. They were like, you need to start listening to something else. Change out the CD every once in a while, because I would just jam this album so much. Of course, we got Enter Sandman, a classic. Sad but true. Holier Than Now, The Unforgiven, Wherever I May Roam, and then we got deeper cuts like Don't Tread on Me, Of Wolf and Man, The Struggle Within, The God That Failed. Really, really, really good album. Love the mix by Bob Rock. Love that mix so much. And like, you could tell that this is like a 90s sounding album too. Like, I remember when I first heard this album from my dad, I think it was, and he was like, or I told him, this is like a 90s sounding, and this is back when I was like a kid. I told him, this is a 90s sounding album. He's like, oh yeah, well, Metallica, they formed in like the 70s or 80s, and I'm like, Sounds like they formed in the 90s, because this is a 90s sounding album. And I learned later it actually came out in the 90s, and it's an early 90s sounding album. But you know, this is the point where Metallica, they still had kind of the thrash album elements. They were fading out of thrash, but they were kind of still heavy. Like, the tracks were still a little heavy. It wasn't up to Load and Reload levels yet, where it's all the grooves. And I don't really like those albums, Load and Reload, just as much as I don't like Saint Anger, which we could talk about. I could do a Metallica ranking in another video. But yeah. Black Album. What an amazing, amazing album. The mix, the music, the guitar work, I don't know, just everything is so good about this album. And I go back and jam it a lot, because it's just that good. Oh, alright, guys. That was my ranking on my top 10 albums of all time, with a few honorable mentions in there. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Go check those albums out if you want. Well, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And, well, I think I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.